Hello there, and welcome to my channel, Midnight Oil Software. This is Greg, and on this channel I talk about digital art and game development using Unity. So in my previous live streams, I was going through the process of pushing my game up to the Apple App Store, and I ran into some issues with my credentials that I use for the Apple App Store because my certificate had expired and I had renewed it, but I didn't get things configured quite correctly. So today, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to fix a couple of minor issues. I wouldn't even call them bugs, really. There's just some things that I want to change in my app. But before I do that, I wanted to show that I did get my issues with the Apple App Store resolved. I am able to push builds up. So you can see I've got a couple of builds that I pushed up. This one here is in testing. And I'm going to push another one up that will replace this one with the changes that I'm going to make today. So the changes I want to make, the first thing I want to do is on my title screen here, I want a way to see what version of the game I'm working on at a glance when it launches. So I'm going to go into my title screen, and into the canvas I've got this title pop-up. And there's a few things in here. For one thing, well, over here on the screen itself, I have a couple of graphic items. This Mighty Mondays and Draw 3D. If I turn them off, you can see that. We got this actually Mighty Monday and Fine Arts Academy. I want to move those down, but I also want to move this text info line down. This one that says featuring hand-drawn art inspired by Mark Kistler. Because what I want to do, if I can make this a little bigger, is I want to display the version up here above this line. So I need to make room for it. So I'm going to take that line and those two things, and I'm just going to move them down a little bit. Maybe move that one up just a tad. I think I kind of like that. And then I want to add a new Text Mesh Pro field here. I'm going to move it up above the text info line, and I'm going to call that version text. And by default, I'll make that an empty string. Okay, so now I need to go into the script for the title screen. You see I've already got some serialized fields here, like for the high score. I use the same screen in the game over screen as I do for the title screen. So for the game over screen, I display the high score. I don't do that on the title screen. So you can see that's unassigned. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add a new serialized field for version text, and I'm only going to assign it on the title screen here. So if I go in here, I think I'll put it above the high score one. Serialized field, TMP text, and I'll call it version text. And down here where I'm setting the high score, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to say if version text is not equal to null, then I'm going to say version text.set text application.version. Actually, what I want to do is use a string interpolation, and I want to say version application version. So that will display the text version followed by the actual version number, which it's going to pick up from the build information. So theoretically now, if I go to my title screen, and I've got this new version text field here, if I drag in that and I hit play, I see nothing. Okay, so I need to do some, it looks like my field is way down here for some reason. So let me make the scene a little bit bigger here. Actually it's down there. Let me go ahead and put a value in there so I can see it. Okay, yeah. Let me move it down just a tad. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. So I'll clear that out, save it, run. And there it is, version 3.3. So it's picking that up from right here. One thing I want to do is increment my build number. If I don't increment the build number, it won't publish to the App Store because there's already a build 27 up there. I need to have a build 28 to replace it. All right, so that's the first item I wanted to fix. I also noticed that the tutorial screen, I believe it was for my Egg Patrol game, had a typo. Jump over craters and obstacles and shoot hazards and enemies. See how many milestones you can complete. Okay, I thought I had a typo on that. Maybe it was on one of the other scenes. Let me try Flappy Egg. Let me look at page 2. Maybe I already fixed that typo and I just forgot. Complete milestones. Milestone. Maybe it was on Ninjaroids. Let me go over to Ninjaroids. I didn't change anything, so I won't save that. Ah, here it is. Complete 3 milestones to unlock Egg Patrol. So I obviously want to fix that typo. Complete 3 milestones. All right. So I don't want that to be disabled unless it gets turned on by the user settings. All right, what was the other bug? So the other things aren't really bugs per se. They're more usability issues or playability issues. I've noticed on the mobile devices that these mobile controls are difficult. My grandson, I actually introduced my grandson to the concept of rage games. If you're not familiar with a rage game, it's a game where the controls are difficult to control, and it's just really it's frustratingly difficult. So my grandson was playing this on the iPhone and on my iPad, and he said Ninjaroids is definitely a rage game, and he thinks that Egg Patrol might also be a rage game. So I think part of the problem is I would go to hit the fire button and I wouldn't fire because I wasn't hitting it perfectly. So I think what I want to do is I want to go into my prefab for the minigame controller, mobile controls. And for the thumbstick control, I want to make the fire button collider bigger. So right now it matches that button exactly, but I'm going to take this radius. I think I played around with this earlier, and I think a value of 92 looks good. So this way, if I don't hit it precisely, it'll be a little bit more forgiving. So I don't have to have my finger perfectly over the button to get it to fire. And in the same way, I want to go to my arcade buttons, This one was especially frustrating for me because I'd try and thrust and I wouldn't thrust, or I'd try and rotate and I wouldn't rotate, and I'd try and fire and I would not fire. So I think if I take all 4 of these buttons and I set their colliders to 92, that will make this a much more forgiving mobile control. And I'm going to test this out. Why was it thrusting when I did that? Oh, it's because I'm on the chase reticle control. Let me switch over to thumbstick. It's not as forgiving as I would like. That is not doing what I thought it would do. I had to be right on the button. I don't want to pause there. I want to pause here. Okay, so let's see. If I go to the mobile controls and I go to thumbstick and I look at the fire button, that collider is definitely bigger than the button. I would expect that to work. This is the wrong script. Active control.fire. Well, the active control is thumbstick. But that's in the control base. Fire. Fire button, pointer button clicked, or false. So, pointer button. One pointer down. And that does use the collider, does it not? Can't shoot if I'm dead. It won't shoot unless I'm right on the button. Well, that is perplexing to me. Let me just blow this up a little bit and try it again. Oh, it's working. I think I might just... Well, it seemed to work initially. Let me make the collider a little bit bigger. So... make it 100. It's working. Yeah, I just needed to make it a little bigger. I'm going to make it even bigger than that because I want to have a lot of grace. What does it look like on the scene there? That's definitely going to be forgiving. If I go to the arcade buttons, I'm afraid they're going to overlap. Yeah, that's not going to work unless I spread those buttons apart, which is not necessarily a bad idea. I kind of like that. Very nice. Don't seem to be getting the grace for that one. I thought I had all the buttons selected when I did that. Maybe I didn't. Let's give that another try. So rotate left. Well, I see all those colliders looking bigger. Very strange. I can tell up there that those colliders are bigger. But it only seems to be honoring it if I'm actually on the graphic of the button. Well, that is unfortunate. Well, nevertheless, I wanted to show the process for publishing this to the Apple App Store. I will do some research on that collider issue. I was pretty sure that the collider determined whether or not it would determine a mouse click. On pointer down. I thought I would get some IntelliSense help from Unity here, but I'm not. It's coming from the event system. Okay, anyway, I'm going to save this. And make sure my scene is saved. Go back to my title scene. And I'm going to commit these changes to source control. Okay. done. Go up to my repo here. And I'm going to create a pull request to merge those changes into the iOS release branch. I will complete that. All right. So I am on the Unity dashboard for the cloud build, and I am going to initiate a build. And that has been added to the queue. And I wanted to go over what was wrong with my configuration in the previous stream. So I have these environment variables that I've added to allow me to use that bash script in the post build step to upload the build. Boy, it's being slow for me today. And I just realized I wasn't on my monitor. Sorry about that, folks. Anyway, I've got these environment variables in my build script. And this is the build configuration for my iOS platform build. So I had to set this target name, and the target name had to match the target name in my basic info, except I have to replace spaces with hyphens, and case does not seem to matter, so I have that all lowercase. And then my username has to be my actual Apple developer account password, email address. And then the password is a app specific password I created through the Apple developer portal. So once I had these three things correct, the build would correctly push to the Apple App Store when it completed. So it's preparing a build environment for that build. And when it's done, if I go to App Store Connect, it will show up here as processing. So right now I have build 27. Build 28 will show up here as processing. And then I can, it have a little link saying I need to manage compliance, and I have to click that and then change whether or not I use encryption in my app. And then I can start internal testing. And I can also, if I want to, move it to external testing. And then in the App Store itself, I create a version here called 3.3. And currently, build 26 is the build that I have for that version, but I will replace that with build 28 before I submit it. And when that's ready, I'll say add for review, and then they'll review it and make sure that it's good to go on the App Store. So I am going to do a dedicated tutorial specifically around the entire process to get an app built and deployed to the Apple App Store, specifically for people who do not have a Mac. So I'm on a PC running Windows. I don't have a Mac, so I have to go through a very different process to publish than a Mac user would. And a lot of it is around creating certificates and provisioning profiles, and then setting up your Unity Cloud build to be able to push to the App Store. I actually have a prototype for another app I'm going to use in that demo, in that tutorial. So I pushed an app up from that, and I'm waiting for the Apple App Store to finish reviewing that so I can test it through TestFlight. TestFlight is an app that you can put on your iPhone or your iPad to take apps that are ready for testing but aren't ready to be released, and then your users can test them and provide feedback and let you know if there's any bugs or anything. So if I go back to apps on the Apple developer App Store Connect, and I go to TestFlight, you can see that this build is waiting for review. So I have pushed a build up of my little prototype that I want to use in that tutorial. and I'm waiting for them to review it. And this can take a day or two before they actually approve it and make it ready to send out the testers. So I apologize for the snafus today. I apologize that my mobile control tweaks don't seem to be working for whatever reason. And I apologize even more for being on my face cam when I thought I was on my monitor cam, so you couldn't even see what I was doing. I will switch back real quick just to show you where I ended up on that. If I test this, and I go to my mini games, oops, I didn't want Egg Patrol, although that would work because I have a thumbstick control. I really want to show it on Ninjaroids. So I had the arcade button selected here, and if I pause this, you can see the gizmos here in the scene view show my colliders as being much bigger than the buttons that they're assigned to. But when I was testing it in the app, it won't trigger until I'm actually over the image for the button. So if anybody is watching this and knows why that would be, I would expect with the increased collider size that would work. But it seems like as long as I hold the button down, it works. I wonder what I collided with there that I blew up. There's something going on there. I'm colliding with something under. Oh, I know what's wrong. I know exactly what's wrong. In a previous video, I talked about how for Ninjaroids, in order to have an object come off one end of the screen and come back on the other, I create ghosts, basically duplicates of the image that surrounds it in around all 8 points around the image. But when you go off the screen and keep going, it will only swap it back to the next position if it's not visible by any camera. But when I'm running in the debugger, like I was there, I can actually demonstrate this. When I'm running in the debugger and I have the scene visible to the editor camera here, that logic gets messed up and doesn't work. Although I don't see any of those visible on there. Oh, it's because it's really small. But yeah, so these asteroids, every asteroid has 8 ghosts. So when this guy goes over the edge of the screen, so this guy is off the edge of the screen up here, but he's peeking in from the bottom of the screen down here. Now, if they keep going so that they disappear completely, I need to take whatever guy went off the screen and the new one that came on, he needs to be the parent, and all the other ghosts need to reposition themselves around him. But that won't happen if he's visible to this editor camera. So in order for that functionality to work, I've got to make sure that they're totally not visible. So I shouldn't be hit by any more invisible objects. But anyway, that was all that was. So once again, you get to see the kind of technical hurdles that I have to overcome as a game developer. Puzzles I need to figure out, like why that mouse click on the buttons isn't working, even though I expanded the collider. So I'm going to do some research into that. And again, if anybody watched this and knows why that's happening, drop me a comment in the chat. But do me a favor and click the like and subscribe button. It's totally free. And it really helps me out to grow my channel and get this content in front of as many people as possible. And if there's anything in particular you'd like to see me cover or any questions that you'd like to have answered, drop me a comment and I'll do my best to get back to it as soon as I can. So thanks for watching and have a great day.